Hi, I'm Father Jim Forson, and I'd like to share with you some reflections on the gospel of this fifth Sunday in Ordinary Time. And what I'd like to do is something just a little bit different than what I've done before. I'd like to talk with you about one of the teachings of our church, one of the dogmas we believe in. And that dogma is that of purgatory. It's kind of a difficult one to understand, if not to describe, and it's one that confuses a lot of our Christian brothers and sisters who say to us, what's this purgatory all about? Jesus didn't talk about it. It's not in the Bible. And they're right. It's not in the scriptures. And Jesus didn't talk about it. So what is it and how do we describe it? It's hard to wrap our minds around. That whole idea of purgatory carries with it that sense of purgation. That is to say, of being made clean. And we know that purgatory isn't a place we go to. When we die and we enter into eternity, there's no time and space like we do have here in this world we live in. So what is it? Well, I think I stumbled across a good way to understand purgatory. The other day when I was watching TV and I saw a movie I'd seen years before, The Green Mile with Tom Hanks. And there was one part of that movie where Hanks is dealing with a criminal that he has to be able to execute, a man named John Coffey, who, as we would come to discover in the movie, was unjustly accused of killing small children. The remarkable thing about John Coffey was his ability to be able to feel the evil and the goodness in other people. And in feeling that, he could stop it, as he did with one of his fellow prisoners who was truly evil, and with one of the prison guards likewise. And he could feel the goodness and enhance the goodness, and also help heal sick people, which is what he did for the warden's wife who was sick with cancer. And so we, in the movie, get to see what a good man John Coffey was. And that guard Tom Hanks played was terribly torn at that moment of execution because he was going to have to lead him to the electric chair. But he realized what a good man he was. And he was struggling with that moment. And he said to John Coffey and to the other prison guards, you know, on the day of my judgment, when I stand before God and he asks me why I killed one of his miracles, what do I say to him? I was just doing my job? My job? Welcome to purgatory. That's what it is. The terrible struggle one has with their conscience when they see what they have done and what they should not have done. I think that when we die, we go and we stand before the Father, and the light that is Jesus Christ reveals to us the truth about ourselves. And we get to see all of the goodness that we have brought into this world, the truth about ourselves. And we also see all of the evil that we have brought into this world, all the pain that we've caused, that truth about ourselves. And even though we may have confessed our sins and said that we were sorry, in that moment of truth, it might be too much to bear. We might be tempted just to hang our head in sorrow and want to go curl up in a corner somewhere. And even though Christ the light is calling us into the light, he is calling us toward forgiveness and mercy, we might not be able to let ourselves off the hook. We might not be able to follow that call. It might be too much. And isn't it sometimes the hardest thing to do is to forgive oneself and to accept forgiveness? Which is why we are taught as Catholics to pray for the poor souls in purgatory, to pray for those moments of truth when we are seeing the truth about ourselves for all the good and all the bad, and that struggle within our heart ensues. Now, this purgation, this being made clean, what it is this acceptance of the forgiveness and the mercy and entering into the light. What does that have to do with today's gospel, in which Jesus says, you're the light of the world, you're the salt of the earth? And don't minimize that. I mean, we take those things for granted because salt and light is everywhere, but in Jesus' time, salt was a precious commodity. And light was something you couldn't flip on a switch, you had to work at it to have light. So Jesus is saying to his disciples, you're something essential, you're something precious. But looking at salt's worth, its value, is in what it does to that which is around it. It enhances the flavor of food. It brings to the surface all the goodness of that food. No one sits down and eats salt for dinner, but you put salt on your dinner to enhance it, to enrich it. That's what we do to this world. We enhance this world. We enrich this world. We're the salt for it as we are the light for it. Because no one turns on a light and looks at it. We turn on the light so that we can be able to see that which is around us. And this world can sometimes be a terrible place of darkness. And we need the light to be able to see the path. And that's what Jesus is calling his disciples to be and to do. And he even says, what good is salt if it loses its tang? And what good is light if you put it under a bushel basket? And he calls his disciples to be that for this world, and that is what we are called to be. We're called to be the salt and the light for the families we live in, and to be able to enhance them and to bring out their goodness and to help show them the right path to walk on. But boy, sometimes it can be a temptation that, it won't do any good to talk to him or talk to her. And I don't know if I want to get into it. It's just going to cause a big mess. And I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. I don't want to get into it. And we're not salt. And we're not light for our family. And not just for our family, but for our culture also. Because we can see in this culture how desperate it is in need of salt, something to enhance it, something to bring out its goodness. And oh my gosh, how it needs light, because there's this terrible sense of darkness sometimes within this world of ours, and it needs the light of Jesus Christ that comes to this world through us, and we have to be that light. But sometimes we don't want to do that because it may demand too much of us, because it's uncomfortable. It can cause divisions. I don't want to get into it. I'm going to separate church from politics. I don't want to talk about politics. It gets everybody up and riled up and at them and all. I don't want to deal with it. And so we don't. We're not light. We're not salt. We're not those disciples that Jesus called us to be. And the time will come in which we die, and we will stand before God, and the light of Jesus Christ will shine upon me. And all of a sudden I realized that I wasn't what I was called to be. As we say in our Catholic prayer, in what I have done and what I have failed to do. I may see where I failed to do what he called me to do, and that sense of being a failure could just be so overwhelming, tempted to hang our head in shame. And isn't it true also that what I've just described likewise happens in this life too? Don't we all sometimes say things like, I'm already in purgatory, right? That wrestling match within our heart, within our conscience is already going on. And sometimes, as we will in the next world, so too in this world, we can feel a terrible sense of shame when we have seen the evil we have done and the harm we have caused. And it can be so difficult to accept forgiveness and to forgive ourselves. That's purgatory. That's that struggle. So, today, we take time to pray for all of those poor souls in purgatory who have died and are struggling. And today, we take time to pray for all the poor souls still alive and are struggling in their own purgatory.